German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has strongly criticized US Vice President J.D. Vance's remarks at the Munich Security Conference, further deepening tensions between Germany, the European Union, and one of their most crucial allies. Vance, in his speech, accused European leaders of suppressing free speech and failing to address public concerns over migration. "There's a new sheriff in town," Vance declared to the audience, signaling a more confrontational approach by the Trump administration towards European policies. He directly challenged European leaders on key issues including migration, security, and trade, warning that the US would no longer tolerate policies that, in his view, disregarded the will of the people. Scholz forcefully rejected these accusations, and democracy was at the center of his response. "I expressly reject what US Vice President Vance said at the Munich Security Conference," Scholz stated in a post on X. He underscored Germany's historical responsibility to counter far-right extremism, drawing parallels to the Nazi era. The concept of a firewall against far-right politics, a principle upheld by Germany's mainstream democratic parties to prevent cooperation with the Alternative for Germany, AfD, was at the center of his response. Vance's remarks and his decision to meet with AfD leader Alice Weidel while in Munich were widely condemned by German officials, who viewed it as unwarranted interference in Germany's domestic politics. Weidel, however, welcomed Vance's position, praising his speech as excellent on social media. Beyond political tensions, transatlantic relations have also been strained by the return of Trump-era protectionist trade policies. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen voiced concerns over the potential fragmentation of the global economy in response to President Donald Trump's renewed tariff threats on European imports. "We must avoid a damaging trade war that would harm businesses and workers on both sides of the Atlantic," von der Leyen warned, emphasizing the need to preserve economic cooperation despite political frictions. In response to Washington's imposition of tariffs on European steel and aluminum, the European Commission announced it would take firm action. The EU considers these measures unjustified and is exploring countermeasures, including tariffs on iconic American exports, such as bourbon whiskey, jeans, and motorcycles. Recent developments have highlighted a significant rift. The decision was made unilaterally, with stated concerns that there will be no just and lasting peace, if the fear is that it could set a dangerous precedent and undermine Ukraine, notably excluding European nations from the negotiation table, a move that has raised considerable concern among EU leaders. In February 2025, President Donald Trump announced the commencement of peace negotiations with Russian President Vladimir Putin, aiming to resolve the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. This decision was made unilaterally, without prior consultation with European allies, effectively sidelining the EU from the peace process. Special Envoy Keith Kellogg confirmed that while Europe would be consulted, it would not have direct involvement in the talks, emphasizing a realist approach and suggesting that Europe should contribute with concrete proposals and increase defense spending. European leaders have expressed alarm over their exclusion from the negotiations. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot stated, "There will be no just and lasting peace in Ukraine without the participation of Europeans." Similarly, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky emphasized that Ukraine would not accept agreements made without its involvement, underscoring the necessity for direct participation in any peace talks. The US has proposed significant concessions, including suggesting that Ukraine might have to cede certain territories and forgo NATO membership aspirations. This approach has been criticized by European officials, who fear it could set a dangerous precedent and undermine Ukraine's sovereignty. The exclusion of European nations from these critical discussions not only strains transatlantic relations, but also raises questions about the future security architecture of Europe. In 2023, Germany's trade surplus with the United States widened, further reaching scrutiny from the US government under the Biden administration in transatlantic trade. German exports to the US totaled 171.65 billion EUR, driven primarily by strong demand for automobiles, pharmaceuticals, and industrial machinery. Meanwhile, US exports to Germany amounted to 77 billion EUR, with key products including aircraft, chemicals, and energy resources. By 2024, the trade surplus widened further, reaching 70 billion EUR, despite a slight decline in total exports. German exports to the US stood at 61.3 billion EUR, marking a 2.2% increase, particularly in high-tech manufacturing and luxury automotive sales. In contrast, US exports to Germany declined to 91.4 billion EUR, reflecting reduced shipments of agricultural goods and industrial components. This persistent trade imbalance has drawn scrutiny from the US government, with the Biden administration, and now Trump's returning administration, considering new tariffs and trade measures to address the deficit. The issue remains a focal point in transatlantic economic relations, with ongoing discussions about potential policy adjustments and retaliatory measures. Even before Trump took office, political instability in major EU states had been fueled in recent years by soaring energy prices, declining industrial output, and shifting global trade dynamics. The EU's reliance on imported energy has increased production costs, reducing competitiveness, while industrial production in key economies like Germany and France has declined. Trade imbalances, particularly with China and the US, have further weakened the bloc's market position. Political instability in major EU states has stalled economic reforms, compounding the crisis. Meanwhile, tensions with the US have escalated under President Trump, who has criticized EU trade policies, threatened tariffs, and pressured Europe to buy more American energy. European leaders, while concerned, have expressed a willingness to negotiate but remain firm on their principles. Germany, the EU's largest economy, has intensified pre-existing economic vulnerabilities, historically dependent on affordable Russian gas to power its industries. Germany now faces the dual challenge of sourcing alternative energy supplies and coping with soaring energy costs. Despite considerable investments in renewable energy, periods of low wind and reduced sunlight during winter have significantly cut renewable output, deepening the energy shortfall. These conditions have intensified pre-existing economic vulnerabilities, pushing Germany toward recession. In this uncertain climate, political winds are shifting. The far-right Alternative for Germany, AfD, has gained support by promoting policies such as leaving the EU, abandoning the euro, rekindling ties with Russia, and resuming Russian gas imports, appealing to voters desperate for swift solutions to ongoing economic troubles. Will Germany leave the EU? Should Germany decide, we also assess the feasibility and potential impacts. This move could be far-reaching as the linchpin of the EU's economic framework. Germany's departure would likely destabilize the union, weaken the single market, and undermine the common currency. This could trigger financial instability, disrupt trade relationships, and reduce the EU's global influence. In our video, we explore the origins of the current energy crisis and the chain of events that have led us here. We also assess the feasibility and potential impacts of the AFD's proposals, considering both short-term and long-term effects on Germany and the broader European landscape. Our goal is to provide a clear and balanced analysis of the interplay between energy policy, economic stability, and political change in Europe. The downfall of Germany has been evident since the post-World War II era. Strong industrial base and a highly export-oriented economy have been pivotal in shaping the EU's economic policies. Its manufacturing strength, especially in automobiles, machinery, and chemicals, has been a major driver of GDP and has cemented its reputation as a leading exporter. Germany's commitment to European integration has been evident since the post-World War II era. As a founding member of the EU and a key architect of the European Monetary Union, Germany helped create a single market that enabled the free movement of goods, services, capital, and labor, a move that benefited its export-driven economy. The introduction of the euro further provided a stable currency environment, bolstering trade within the Union. Yet in recent years, Germany's once robust economy has declined, with a downturn recorded in the last quarter of 2024. Once regarded as Europe's stalwart, Germany became the worst-performing major economy globally in 2023, contracting by 0.3% and teetering on the edge of recession in 2024. This downturn has spurred a surge in company bankruptcies. In the last quarter of 2024 alone, Germany recorded 4,115 business insolvencies, the highest level since 2009, impacting nearly 38,000 jobs. This represents a 36% increase from the previous year, with the services sector seeing a 47% rise in insolvencies and manufacturing up by 32%. The impact has been especially harsh on Germany's Mittelstand, the small and medium-sized enterprises that form the backbone of its economy. These companies have suffered from falling orders and structural challenges, such as high labor costs and red tape during Germany's first prolonged recession in decades. Let's take a quick pause. If you've enjoyed the video so far, could we ask a small favor? Hitting the like button helps us reach a broader audience, and sharing your thoughts or feedback in the comments makes an even bigger impact. Thank you for watching. Now let's dive back in. Large industrial players have not been spared either. Finance Minister Christian Lindner of the Free Democratic Party, 394 votes, far short of the 300s in Germany's once proud automobile sector. Once a symbol of German engineering excellence, the industry now faces lingering scandals and a slow pivot to electric vehicles, mirroring the broader economic malaise. In November 2024, Germany's coalition government, led by Chancellor Olaf Scholz, collapsed after the dismissal of Finance Minister Christian Lindner of the Free Democratic Party, FDP. This dramatic move, spurred by escalating disputes within the coalition comprising the Social Democratic Party, SPD, the Greens, and the FDP, resulted in the FDP leaving the alliance, leaving Scholz with a minority government. Following the Yas coalition's collapse, Chancellor Scholz requested a vote of confidence in the Bundestag on December 16, 2024. The motion failed, receiving only 207 votes in favor against 394 votes, far short of the 367 needed for a majority. This failure underscored the government's inability to secure parliamentary support, setting the stage for early federal elections. Subsequently, President Frank-Walter Steinmeier dissolved the Bundestag and called for snap elections on February 23, 2025. in a bid to restore stability amid urgent national challenges, including economic recovery and immigration policy. Elon Musk, advisor to President Trump and the billionaire, has been reluctant to support a far-right party. While Musk's backing may resonate with some voters, Alternative for Germany, AfD, in December 2024, Musk tweeted on X, "Only the AfD can save Germany," signaling his backing for the party's aims. Musk's endorsement has sparked widespread debate, both in Germany and internationally. Some analysts believe his support could lend the AfD added credibility, potentially swaying voters who might otherwise have been reluctant to support a far-right party. AfD leaders have seized on this support, with Musk even hosting a live stream discussion with AfD leader Alice Weidel on X to amplify their message ahead of the national elections. However, Musk's involvement has also drawn criticism. German government officials have accused him of attempting to interfere in the nation's electoral process, with Deputy Chancellor Robert Habeck describing his actions as a frontal attack on our democracy and warning of foreign interference in domestic affairs. While Musk's backing may resonate with some voters, reputable pollsters suggest it is unlikely to dramatically shift the party's prospects in the February 2025 elections. Policy changes. The AfD has recently dealt with the AfD's economic agenda, which also includes sweeping tax cuts aimed at spurring growth. Their proposals feature lowering the corporate tax rate from 15% to 10%, eliminating trade taxes, and reducing the VAT from 19% to 15%. These measures are designed to cut the tax burden by more than 279 billion euros, roughly 88.6% of Germany's GDP, and are projected to boost GDP by 6% by 2025. Critics, however, warn that such drastic tax cuts could lead to significant budget deficits, potentially undermining the government's ability to finance public services and infrastructure. In addition, the party's hardline anti-immigration stance, which includes proposals for mass deportations under a remigration policy, has raised concerns about potential labour shortages in industries that depend on immigrant workers. AfD controversy. Beyond advocating for drastic measures, the AfD has been criticised for a dramatic departure from the principles that have undermined the union's overall economic stability and potential policies affecting the Paris climate.